Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 17 after 8 o'clock. And our first guest this morning is CEO of Business Leadership South Africa. And that, of course, is Busisiwe Mavuso. Okay, so the elections have been done and dusted. And I think South Africa was in the grip of election fever for a long, long time. It is behind us, but the drama, I think, is just going to start up now. We're now in talks regarding coalitions. We're going to have to monitor the situation pretty closely because it has so many different permutations regarding who the coalition partners are going to be, what sort of horse trading is going to go on behind the scenes, and what does that all, um, what does that say about the future of South Africa? We've been talking long and hard about South Africa having been on its knees for a long, long time due to the inefficiency of the previous ANC government. People are now hopeful that there's going to be a very meaningful change. But I guess that meaningful change will only be possible if the right partnerships or the right coalitions are formed. But I think it's going to be hectic horse trading that's going on behind closed doors as we speak. So let's hear from Busisiwe Mavuso. I'll start off by saying that South Africa is on the cusp of a new political era in which a new government will be shaped under a coalition agreement after the ANC and other political parties failed to secure an outright mandate to govern. So in the coming days, the ANC will have to negotiate with smaller political parties the formation of a government after its electoral support fell by 17 percentage points to a mere 40%. Any surprises there, Busisiwe? And how are you feeling post the elections? Are you also in anticipation of what is still to come ahead regarding the coalitions?
Definitely, Julie. Good morning, and thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. I'm definitely also in anticipation in terms of what is going to happen, what the outcome is going to be. We know all the political parties are busy in talks at the moment. And as you rightfully put it, it is if we want South Africa to survive, if we want our economy to turn the corner, if we want to change, the environment within which we find ourselves in, if we want to improve the lives of so many South Africans, it is dependent on the coalition government that is going to emerge in 2 weeks from now, as per our constitution. I think a lot is at stake. A lot depends on the ANC in particular being the majority party, having gotten the most votes. It depends on them getting this right. I don't know if you saw the GDP numbers yesterday come out, and you will see that the economy is weaker, right? We are weaker as an
Absolutely.
economy. Right, in the first quarter of 2024, we have posted a contraction of 0.1%. This is worse than what a lot of economists had actually predicted. They were hoping that we were going to get a 0.1% economic growth. But I think 0.1% doesn't cut it. The population of South Africa is growing at 1.6%. So for us to be growing or contracting at 0.1% is really not where we should be. So markets are jittery at the moment. And I think the rand, trading around its weakest level in the month, is testament to that. The election outcomes for the markets and investors mean uncertainty. And of course, because markets are premised on certainty and the lack thereof is seriously problematic. So the jitters are as a result of the markets not knowing who the coalition partners are going to be. So policy clarity and policy certainty are key for markets, and we have been thrust in an environment where there is a huge speculation on continuity from a policy direction perspective. This will obviously only be clear once we know who the coalition partners are going to be, and that will matter because it will make the policy direction clear, and that will obviously impact on investor confidence, it will impact on market confidence, it will impact on business confidence. And I don't know how true the reports that are coming out are, Julie, because I heard reports yesterday from the media talking about the fact that the ANC is already on record as saying that they will not make an irresponsible move, which is brilliant. The Minister of Finance, if he's still the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, has come out and is on record as saying that the ANC will maintain its current economic policy and stick to the course, which is very promising. And I think that is a promising start because we need a coalition that will be founded on solid, non-negotiable principles, a coalition that will prioritize substance over style, a coalition that will put the country first, a coalition that will ensure that men and women of integrity, who wish to guide this country on the path to growth and prosperity emerge. A coalition that will ensure that South Africa becomes a capable state, because you and I know that we haven't been a capable state for quite some time. A coalition that will ensure that a stable government is delivered. We are in desperate need of a government with meritocracy. People who know what they are doing in government, are supposed to emerge. We need to continue with the professionalization of the public service, Julie. We cannot continue, having CFOs in government who don't know the difference between income and cash. So we need the reskilling of the public sector. We need to bring in people who are qualified for their roles, regardless of their political affiliation. So we are hoping that that is the kind of coalition that will emerge.
So obviously what you're saying is that hopefully, please God, the days of cadre deployment are over. Let's hope so. But also we're looking at if we look at two coalitions, and I'm going to talk about them in a minute and let you unpack two very powerful coalitions. The one would be, which we're hearing whisperings about in the corridors already, the one would be the ANC with the DA, the other being the ANC with the MK and IPF, or the IPF or Julius Malema's party. So let's just hear what Cass Kuvadia has to say regarding this situation, and then I'd like you to respond. And the outcomes of those two very powerful coalitions, they're both powerful in their own right. So it's like I've indicated, ANC and DA, or ANC, MK, and either the IPF or Julius Malema's party. So let me quote Cass Kuvadia, the CEO of Business Unity South Africa. He says the country's biggest business, well, he is the country's biggest business organization. He suggests that voting patterns from the 16.2 million votes cast indicate that South Africa do not trust any single political party to govern alone. While that we do accept, and no political party is in a position to obviously govern alone because they don't have the numbers. And he goes on to say that this is why the country has descended into the uncharted territory of coalitions at the national government level. Having said that, coalition governments may be new to us on the African continent, but it's not new in the Western world, and it's working pretty well there, is it not? So your thoughts on all of the comments I have made thus far?
Yeah. So, Julie, and I absolutely agree with Cass. The people of South Africa have actually said enough and no more to the ANC majority rule. So they clearly want, a different leadership to emerge. And obviously, this puts us in an environment where we therefore need to have a coalition government. So it's very clear what they've actually voted for. And when you look at what the economic policies of the political parties that sit with the majority numbers, which is, I guess, your right centrist parties. When you look at the economic policies of those parties, which is your ANC, which is your DA, which is your IFP, which is your, so those are all the right centrist parties. And when you look at what their economic policies tell us, those economic policies tell us that these are political parties that will want to retain the integrity of the constitution. These are political parties that would want to uphold the rule of law. These are political parties that would want to ensure that we continue to protect and safeguard the independence of the democratic institutions. These are political parties that would want to ensure that the judiciary and the Reserve Bank, still continue to be protected as, South Africa's greatest strengths from an institutional strength perspective. So whether they practice it or not, is neither here nor there, but from their manifesto perspective, this is what they uphold, and when you look at what the other political parties' manifestos tell us, and probably maybe these are the leftist parties, you will see, that they've got policies of nationalization. And I guess from a numbers perspective, from the 58% of the people who came out to vote, these political parties don't have the majority of the numbers. The political parties that don't respect the constitution, the political parties that want nationalization, political parties that want new taxes beyond what the narrow tax base can handle, political parties that are going to bring in policies of mass economic destruction. They've gotten minimum numbers from these elections. So it is very clear, what type of coalition that we're going to have to go to if we just respect, what the people of South Africa have actually said. The people of South Africa are very clear, and you rightfully talk about the coalition success stories in other Western countries. You've got Italy that is getting this right. You've got Germany that is getting this right. When the Germany government sits after an election, they look at it and they say, what is the true north? What is it that we actually need to fix? What are the issues that Germans continue to rise? So it's really this style of substance over style. What is the substance of the issues that need to be addressed in Germany? And how do we therefore go about doing that? But also, which are the political parties that espouse, these principles? Who can we bring on board to ensure that the substance that the Germans would like to have delivered, can be delivered? So you really go into a coalition based on that. It's not about who you like. It's not about who your friends are. It's not about who you get along with. It's about, and I mean, if the ANC government were to be honest, Julie, we have been very vocal as South Africans. They know why they are not in power today. Civil society has actually had a whole lot of frustrations around issues of service delivery, around issues of corruption. As the business community, we've made our piece very clear, and we've been very clear that we need a responsive economic policy. We need policy and regulatory certainty. We need effective, and efficient network industries. We need a capable state. We need effective public services. We need safety and security and rule of law. We need social stability. The reason why you don't have foreign direct investment coming into the country at the moment. The reason why the investor sentiment is so low in South Africa at the moment, I don't know if you'll remember, the VW passenger cars CEO was here in South Africa to just tour, their South African plant and to really understand the South African environment. His analysis of our environment was that at some point as VW, we are going to have to ask ourselves a question as to whether are we going to continue to produce our cars in an environment that is plagued by so many challenges. And he was talking about the issues of energy security or lack thereof. He was talking about the dysfunctional ports. He was talking about the water crisis that we have in this country. So the ANC knows why they are not in power. So if they are going to be having negotiations to try and understand, which coalition partner should actually be coming on board, they should be guided by those principles. Which is the political power, according to the economic policies and the manifestos of these political parties, which is the political party that will ensure and help the ANC government to actually deliver on what South Africans would like to see? What we are hoping will not happen, Julie, is that we shouldn't have the repeat of the City of Joburg coalition, where you have had 8 mayors in 2 years, where you have actually had chaotic leadership, where you have had strained and ineffective decision-making, where you have had disunity, where you have had a failure to implement even the most basic of services, where corruption has been on the increase because of the exchange of favors between parties. We are really hoping that we are going to get a coalition that will be single-minded, on the focus of delivering for South Africans, a coalition that will be willing to compromise in favor of a greater good. This cannot be about a coalition that is going to be driven by politics or ideology. You rightfully talk about the issue of cadre deployment. Cadre deployment has failed in South Africa at the moment. We have useless people, in public service who can't deliver on their jobs, as much as we've got the greatest of plans to try and change our situations around. Because we don't have the right people in power, they are failing to implement those plans. So this can't be a coalition that is driven by politics or ideology. It has to be a coalition about what is good for South Africa and the people.
My final question to you, I think we're going to have to wrap up in a minute or two. So much more to discuss regarding coalitions, but I think the other important issue here as well is, depending who the ANC goes into a coalition government with, would also then strike the death knell, I should imagine, for Cyril Ramaphosa serving a second term. And are they up to it? Is the ANC up to perhaps that possibility? And do you think that that would be a good move as far as the coalition government is concerned? Is Cyril Ramaphosa up to serving a second term? Let's assume they go into coalition with a partner who would allow him to serve a second term as president. Will that be good for the country? Will that be good for the economy? Would that increase investor confidence, which we so desperately need in the country?
So it's interesting, Julie, because when you listen to, if you remember, during the many speeches that a whole lot of these political leaders gave over the weekend, I think that was one of the conditions that the MK party had put forward, to say, if you would want us to go into a coalition with you, you must make sure that you fire Cyril Ramaphosa. We're not going to go into a coalition with an ANC that is led by Cyril Ramaphosa. And I remember, I think the SG of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, responding that we are not going to be dictated to, and we're not going to be told by other political parties what to do with Cyril Ramaphosa. Actually, he was actually saying, we are not going to fire Cyril Ramaphosa. He's still our president. So it's actually interesting if the ANC would actually succumb to that, or if they will actually give in to such, wild demands, as it were. But when you also look at what Cyril has achieved, in his 6th administration, with everything that has not gone right, in South Africa, and a whole lot of his failures, he has managed, to try and bring progress in as far as the solid, stabilization of institutions. He has managed to drive the reform agenda. He has managed to set up the Operation Vulindlela unit, to make sure that the reform agenda can actually be accelerated. He has managed to actually sign the NPA bill, which is going to ensure that the permanent establishment of an investigative directorate in the NPA, can be restored so that we can help fight corruption. And I think this is bringing back the scorpions, that we used to have. He has actually managed to build this partnership with business, which has made sure, that we restructure the electricity system. We try and work on our broken logistics system. So he has been working towards the achievement of a conducive environment, and would hope that that momentum is not disturbed. We are on the right track. We just need to get a coalition that will ensure that the successes that we have attained up until now, in as far as the partnership, in as far as the work has been done, are actually continued. We don't need to actually be taken back. And he has actually managed to mobilize private sector resources and skills to support government in key interventions. So I really hope that we can continue that work, with this 7th administration and this coalition government, whatever shape and form it is going to take.
Okay, interesting days ahead. We're going to see what happens within the next 14 days. Busisiwe Mavuso, thank you indeed for your time and your thoughts on the issue of coalition governments going forward, which is crucial for us here in South Africa. You, of course, are the CEO of Business Leadership South Africa. Thank you once again for your thoughts. It is exactly 8:36. We're moving on. This is, of course, News and Views on Salam Media. And next, we're going to talk with Maulana Shafiq Nolan. He is from Ashraful Aid and Omar Worldwide. Thank you. I've noted your comments. Sorry that I couldn't put that to Busisiwe. We've just run out of time. But thank you indeed for your thoughts.